Onwards. Yesterday, at the Liberal Democrats' spring conference in York, delegates overwhelmingly voted to allow cannabis to be sold legally to adults in specialist regulated shops. The Lib Dem leader Tim Farron claimed the policy could raise $1 billion in tax revenue and would wrest control of the trade out of the hands of the gangsters and unregulated dealers. Should there be a legal supply of cannabis? Jim Duffy, ex-cop spokesman for law enforcement against prohibition. Why do you want to legalise it?
Well, the war on drugs has been going on in this country and across the world for years. We started the war on drugs in 1971, and it's been an unmitigated failure.
We lost.
We lost. It's lost. It's unwinnable. It's not been won in any country, anywhere in the world. What we have is a system at the moment where we have handed over control of the drugs market to the criminals. And the criminals are the people who will decide what the drugs are, what they're cut with, what the purity will be, what the strength will be. And they will decide if they'll sell them or if they'll give them away to your kids or your grandkids. They are the people that run the market. They don't ask for ID. All they're interested in is the money. And that's what drives the whole drugs industry. And we have not been able, in the 32 years I was in the police, we didn't make a blind bit of difference. We started in 1975 when I joined, talking about tenner bags. I left 32 years later in 2007. We're still talking tenner bags. If inflation had kept place, a tenner bag would have been £147. That didn't happen. Everyone in this audience will know that at this particular moment in time, drugs have never been more plentiful, never been cheaper, and never been easier to get. We need to do something different.
So you want to make the, in the terms of the criminal hierarchy, you want to make the government the dealer and the multinationals the Mr. Bigs, yeah?
No, what we want to do is legalise, regulate and control the market. And at the moment...
Market for cannabis, ecstasy?
The debate just now is about legalisation of cannabis. LEAP's point of view is that every drug that's currently illegal, if you choose to sniff it, snort it, inject it or take it into your body through the orifice of your choice, provided you're over 18, you know the purity, the strength, the effect and your responsibilities, then you should be allowed to do that. Okay. As long as you have an uncontrolled market, it will be run by criminals. It will cost lives. It kills people across the planet. It's killed 100,000 people in Mexico in the last 8 years in the drugs war between the cartels and the government. They're fighting over a plant that grows in the ground.
Deirdre, have lost. Recovery Resources, Deirdre Boyd. The war has been lost. Take it out of the hands of the criminals. Money for the government, help for addicts, proper understanding, drugs that are not as dangerous and are not cut with toxins, properly produced, legitimate market.
I think to say that the war on drugs has been lost is a very quicksand foundation. For example, deaths from alcohol are 10 times those from illicit drugs. Deaths from tobacco are 100 times more than those from illicit drugs, which would indicate that, you know, this is working. And the other thing is, you know, Jim is correct in that the illicit market will always undercut the legal market. You regulate for the over 18s, and then you'll have the traffickers targeting the under 18s even more. You regulate for potency, and you empower the traffickers to offer even more potent products. And in fact, if you look at the statistics, this is not theory now, as a lot of the legalization lobby does. If you look at the statistics out of Colorado and other states that have legalized marijuana, you'll find that the potency has increased, hospitalizations have increased, poisonings of children have increased 80%, drugged driving has increased, and if we come back here to the UK, we had the appalling Lambert depenalisation experiment about 12 years or more ago, and there was a 10-year follow-up. Now, this is a rigorous empirical follow-up.
But yeah, if you were starting now, as is often said, you know, you wouldn't make alcohol legal, would you? It's one of the most dangerous drugs, isn't it? But if people can enjoy a wee drink, why shouldn't they be able, and we've just been speaking about personal liberty in the previous debate, why shouldn't they be able to enjoy a wee joint?
Why add to that problem? You know, if we have such a problem, why add to that problem? I'm sorry, can I just add
No, I want to hear it. You can be able to come back.
I think it's really important to consider what the Lib Dems have actually decided to support. they've actually received a very considered report, which is actually very restrictive in terms of its recommendations. It would take the drug out of the hands of criminals. It would mean that supply would have to be taking place in regulated shops with licenses, with a separation between the producer and the retailer. So the same people would not be producing, same people would not be retailing. It would mean that young people who are actually having a joint are not likely to go to prison for 5 years. It would mean that young people who are actually kind of sharing cannabis with their friends are not liable to be going to prison for supply of up to 14 years.
But Eric, they don't
We've got a nonsensical situation at the moment with the drug laws. What I think
Are there positives for young people?
Of course, the reason why people use drugs is because they enjoy them. At least for some of the time, that's why they use them. What the report considers is that actually this is actually not it's like alcohol. It's not an ordinary. Drugs are not an ordinary commodity. They have potential risks. They have potential harms. The point is that what we're doing at the moment is not reducing those harms. It's contributing to them, and it's disproportionately affecting poor young people as well.
And we need to try something new. That's the point.
Well, the role of government.
I told you I'd come back to
Yeah,
you.
government exists to keep the governed safe and secure and to have and enjoy the freedoms. And there is a cost to enforcement of law, and it is a significant cost. So that it's a hard calculation to make, but the calculation is what is the cost of enforcement versus the benefit to the society. And in this case, it's it may be the case
15.4 billion it costs us in terms of...
that actually allowing marijuana to be supplied under some form of government license may actually, it's a very Benthamel calculus, but it's about increasing the net benefit for the society and reducing the cost of
But it's also
maintaining that.
it's a fundamental reframing of the issue, so we actually reframe the issue as a public health issue rather than a criminal justice issue, which will actually protect the most vulnerable in society, which is one of the most important roles of government.
In prison, it's certainly no fun for a young person to be detained under the Mental Health Act in a hospital ward.
The point is that in cannabis, the constituent of cannabis that actually causes most harm is THC. In the 1990s, average THC in cannabis was about 4%. It's now about 14%. It's an uncontrolled, unregulated market. What the Lib Dems proposals suggest is that you actually have an opportunity to have different strengths, and you can tax according to the different strengths, so you can actually kind of shift the market towards the least harmful to harmful.
What about skunk? People always want skunk and the genetically produced strongest...
People won't necessarily always want skunk. They have skunk because that's what
It's really psychoactive and hallucinogenic, isn't it?
And that's what the dealers are selling at the moment. If you have a controlled, regulated market, you can reduce the THC content and you can increase the CBD content.
The government sell the soft stuff and the dealers sell the hard stuff.
Protective.
What is the need for a regulated market on something for enjoyment and anxiety reduction when there are other ways to reduce anxiety and other ways to enjoy yourself?
Nobody is suggesting that drug use is a good thing.
And
nobody's suggesting that.
Anxiety is often a symptom of social disadvantage, lack of identity, lack of opportunity. If we address those things for our young people today, they don't need to go into a head shop, into a drug cafe and smoke a joint.
Nobody's disagreeing with you on that. Nobody's disagreeing with you on that.
If you drink, what's the difference?
Nikki, that's unfair. That's unfair. But the point about drinking...
Right, well, Laxmi answer.
Well.
Don't answer on Laxmi's behalf.
The
But
link
she's not risking getting psychosis for starters.
Yeah, I'm not, and my brain has fully developed. My brain has fully developed.
So is it okay for an adult? Is it okay for an adult to smoke?
I can't. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. I guess I can't speak for the harm that would be caused to adults. I'm not a respiratory physician, so I don't know about the harm to your physical health. But certainly, I do think that there are other ways of managing anxiety, regulating your behaviours, and not entering. I'm not in jail.
And we all agree.
I'm not lying in a hospital ward.
Okay.
It doesn't make the marijuana
Thank you.
go away.
Thank you very much
Sorry,
indeed.
It's there.
Audience, first of all, Katie. I'll be with you, Deirdre.
Okay.
And Eric's
So I get
looking
some
a bit angry. I'll be back with Eric as well.
I always look like that.
Just to say on the mental health angle, what the research consensus generally is about the risk factors are about heavy use, age of onset,
how often the person is using. Also, the debate's maybe been made unnecessarily simple to say that that's the only option, either for or against. Decriminalisation would be another option, so that we're taking some of the criminal harms out. And in effect, the UK government are actually doing that with the Psychoactive Substances Act that's going to come in force in April. So legal highs will be legal for possession. So we're already doing it. So this is highlighting the disparity between our existing drug laws and new drug laws that are coming in. So it's maybe time for change.
Time for change. Anyone else in the audience? Yeah, back there first of all, then I'll come down to John. John has something to say. Yeah, you. Morning.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions, obviously, about cannabis and all the different kind of detrimental effects. I don't think anyone here is contesting the detrimental effects that you can get from smoking things like cannabis. The issue comes in how we prevent that kind of impact happening to young children. So, for example, when it comes to smoking and alcohol, well, how do we prevent damage of, children, people who are vulnerable to things like smoking and alcohol? Well, we educate them. In schools, we tell them, okay, fine, we understand that you will be able to drink, we understand that some of you smoke, and let's be honest, we know that people, smoke cannabis. The issue is properly educating people so that they know, for example, if they are going to go and smoke a joint, how they can properly protect themselves from any of these detrimental effects. All we're doing at the moment is telling them it's illegal, therefore don't do it. We don't tell them how they can go away and how they can actually protect themselves from smoking and all the detrimental effects that have been discussed.
Thank you very much. John, former cannabis user, addiction support worker. Hi, John.
Hi there. With regards to, for example, heroin, the government spends £326 million in a sticking plaster with regards to methadone and how to treat people. Now, if the government's winning a war, which they're not, so what they're doing, who's pushing the agenda with regards to the drugs? Is it to make more money because they can't tax the poor anymore in what they're doing?
Do you think that's? Do you think that would be something? Putting the cannabis in the hands of the multinationals, would that be the consequence of it? Do you think there's some sort of an agenda going on there?
Personally, yes. And there's always, as a charity worker, there's always the charity that has to support the people in the scheme. And the housing schemes that have to pick up the pieces, the families that are wrecked. It starts with one joint.
People will always take drugs, though.
They'll always take drugs, but it starts with cannabis. It doesn't necessarily stop there. And what you're doing is come in and walk.
Is it a gateway drug, cannabis? Do you believe it is?
It's a gateway into doing other things.
Yeah, because lots of people say that it's only a gateway drug because
the gateway is the people you're buying it
from.
from.
You articulate that.
I say the gateway is the people you're buying the drug from. And also, I just do want to come back to Deirdre as well, because you talked about Colorado. Now, what's actually been recommended by the Lib Dems is nothing like the Colorado experiment at all. It's far more similar to the Uruguay experiment, which is very restrictive. It's about and it's actually making sure that the policy does not make the same mistakes that we've made with the way we regulate alcohol, which is a really harmful legal drug. So it's actually got loads of recommendations about price availability and marketing and restricting all of those, but plain packaging. There's an opportunity to intervene if you're being regulated shops that only sell this one product. There would be trained staff within those shops who actually would have the opportunity to give health advice.
Lakshmi, under those